Imagine you are a 10-year-old boy. You have been ripped from your home, locked inside an iron cage, and fed nothing but raw meat through the bars. You haven't committed a crime. You aren't a prisoner of war. Your only crime is how you look. To the people who captured you, you are a monster, a mythical wild man of the woods. But they aren't going to kill you. Instead, they are going to wrap a velvet ribbon around your neck and ship you across the ocean as a coronation gift to the King of France. You probably think this sounds like a horror story, but it's actually the true hidden history behind one of the most beloved fairy tales of all time. Disney told you that Beauty and the Beast was a romance about a cursed prince saved by true love. But the real story wasn't a fairy tale at all. The real beast wasn't cursed by magic. He was cursed by his genetics. And he wasn't saved by love. He was treated as a pet and immortalized forever by a Renaissance court obsessed with the bizarre. This is the true story of Petrus Gonsalvus, and it's not as happy as Disney's. The year is 1547. A 10-year-old boy is brought to the glittering French court of King Henry II. But he doesn't arrive as a guest. He arrives in an iron cage where he has been locked up and fed raw meat. Why? Because the boy, born in Tenerife, is completely covered in thick, dark hair from head to toe. He has a rare genetic condition we now call hypertrichosis, or Ambras syndrome. To the 16th century world, he wasn't a child. He was the mythical wild man of the woods. But King Henry II didn't want to just keep a monster in a dungeon. He wanted to conduct an experiment. He wanted to see if the beast could be tamed. The king gave him a new Latinized name, Petrus Gonsalvus. He dressed him in the finest velvet and silk. He gave him a nobleman's education. And surprisingly, Petrus didn't just learn, he excelled. He became fluent in Latin and French literature, rivaling the intellect of any aristocrat. Yet, if you look at the early portraits commissioned by the court, a dark reality emerges. He is painted standing tall, wearing the robes of a gentleman. But his existence on that canvas proves he was never truly considered human. He was a collectible item, a living marvel for the king to show off to foreign diplomats. And his life as a royal possession was about to get much worse. When King Henry II died, the power of the French court fell to his widow, Queen Catherine de' Medici. She was a ruthless ruler obsessed with the occult, the bizarre, and human oddities. She looked at Petrus and decided to conduct an experiment of her own, a breeding experiment. The queen wanted to see what would happen if the beast mated with a beautiful woman. Would she get a litter of wild children to populate her royal court? She selected a beautiful servant girl, also named Catherine, and forced her into an arranged marriage with Petrus. The queen was so cruel she didn't even let the bride see the groom until the moment they stood at the altar. Imagine the terror of that young woman, expecting a normal husband, only to come face to face with a man the entire world called a monster. But here's where the story takes a turn no one, least of all the queen, expected. Petrus wasn't a monster. He was gentle, highly educated, and kind. Despite the sadistic trap set by the queen, Petrus and Catherine actually fell deeply in love. They built a strong, affectionate marriage that would last until death. But their love story was doomed because the queen's twisted experiment worked. Together, Petrus and Catherine had 7 children, and to the queen's absolute delight, 4 of them inherited their father's condition. During the Renaissance, European royals were obsessed with the Wunderkammer, the cabinet of curiosities. They hoarded rare art, scientific anomalies, and exotic wonders. The Gonsalvus family instantly became the ultimate living curiosities. They were paraded in front of doctors and dressed in opulent clothing for official court paintings. The most famous of these is a hauntingly beautiful portrait of their daughter, Antonietta Gonsalvus, painted by the renowned female Renaissance artist Lavinia Fontana. Look closely at Antonietta's face. Fontana doesn't paint her as a beast. She gives her a gentle smile and bright, intelligent eyes. She is dressed in exquisite gold and red embroidery. But look at her hands. She is holding a handwritten letter. That letter was a biography explaining her condition and her noble status. It was a label, like a plaque on a museum exhibit. Many of these family portraits were sent across Europe to places like Ambras Castle in Austria. This collection became so famous that to this day, the medical condition they suffered from is called Ambras syndrome. The paintings made them immortal, but they also sealed their horrific fate. Because they were legally classified as freaks of nature, Petrus and Catherine had no human rights or parental rights. They were all property of the court. One by one, the French court and the European nobility literally gave their hairy children away. They were handed out as diplomatic gifts, like exotic pets, to amuse dukes and lords in foreign lands. They were dressed in velvet collars and paraded around for entertainment. Petrus and Catherine were entirely powerless to stop it. The very children they loved were ripped from their arms, never to return. Eventually, the heartbroken parents were exiled from France and sent to the court of the Duke of Parma in Italy. They spent their final years in a small Italian village, completely separated from the children who had been stolen from them. But the ultimate betrayal happened at the very end. When Petrus Gonsalvus died in 1618, after a lifetime of scholarly achievement, noble service, and a devoted marriage, he was denied a Christian burial. His name does not appear in the death registers of the church, because despite his faith, his fluent Latin, and his velvet clothes, the church and the state ultimately decided he was an animal, not a man. The story of Beauty and the Beast wasn't written by Disney, and the real version wasn't a romance about breaking a curse. It was a tragedy about a family exploited for royal entertainment. A family stripped of their humanity, treated as living property, and torn apart by the cruelty of kings and queens. We only know their names today because they were painted as human collectibles. Maybe the fairy tale has a happy ending, but the real story doesn't. Turns out they were never cursed by magic. They were cursed by the very people who claim to be civilized.